Hello, in this video I'm going to be talking about call recording, but I've already done the whole recording. I've done the introduction and everything else. Things get a little bit confusing though because some unforeseen events happen. And I kept the recording while I worked through those unforeseen events. I kept it going, but I wanted to do another, I guess, pre-introduction where I talk about what's going to happen, so that way when you're watching the video, things can be a little more clear about what's happening. In this video, I'm going to have 1,000 calling 5,000, and 1,000 is going to be the phone that's set up for call recording. The call is going to go from headquarters CUCM to site B CUCM because 5,000 is on a different cluster, and so the phone is actually going to have to dial 10 5,000 in order to reach directory number 5000. That's due to how we set up the call recording the call routing previously. And so the 10 will get stripped and it'll send over just the 5000. So let's take a look at what's going to happen here. The phone is going to send an early offer invite to the headquarters CUCM. Headquarters CUCM is going to send a delayed offer invite. And so what that means is that on the early offer invite, there's going to be SDP, which is the IP addresses, the codecs, ports, everything like that. CUCM is not configured to do an early offer invite when it sends it out. So site B is then going to also send a delayed offer invite to engage the phone over there. Eventually that phone is going to send us a 200 OK, and that 200 OK will have the Site B phone SDP. That 200 OK will then get sent back to headquarters CUCM, at which point headquarters CUCM will have the SDP for the calling party because they sent an early offer invite. Then we'll also have the SDP from the called party because it got it in the 200 OK. Headquarters CUCM will then decide what codec is going to be used. And this caused some unforeseen events for me. What ended up happening is when headquarters sent the 200 OK over to the calling phone, it had chosen just the Opus codec because the two agreed upon it, and I guess that's just how it was in terms of list of preference. So now when those calls are connected, what's going to happen is CUCM is also going to start communicating back and forth with the recording server in order to have this call set up for recording. And I will put some really good documents down below that talk about some of the call recording, and they'll talk about the different call flows, which I think might also help more here. So the first test call I did, it failed. We got into troubleshooting, and then eventually the second call was successful. So then I pulled the traces for those successful calls in order for me to be able to go through them in my call manager trace reading playlist that I'm creating. Anyway, I think I've talked about what all I wanted to talk about up until now. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Hello and thank you for coming to check out this video. In this video, we'll be talking about how to configure built-in bridge call recording on CUCM, and we'll be using MediaSense as the recording server for that solution, which I did a previous video where I talked about how to do the installation and where to get the OVA. I also talked about the exam topics for the CCIE having call recording within them, and I pointed out some of the resources that you could reference for other methods of call recording. So I'm doing built-in bridge on the phone, but there's plenty of other stuff. Like if we look at the CCIE collaboration, there's CUBE media proxy, there's CMS call recording, network-based call recording. So I provided some other resources in that previous video. I'll put a link to that video up top right now. Let's go ahead and get into this though. On the CUCM side, I'm going to make an application user, and I'm going to name it MediaSense just to keep things simple for me. We'll give them a password. In all of my lab, I use pretty much the same password to keep things simple. And then when I add it to an access control group, I don't want to have to go look up exactly which ones are needed, because I just don't feel like taking the time to do it, and I'm really just doing this for the lab. The only one that I'm going to remove is standard CTI secure connection, because I've had that cause problems for me when I'm labbing in the past. So we'll add selected and we'll save it. Now that application user is done, we'll hop over to MediaSense and make sure that you choose the one Cisco MediaSense, not MediaSense Search and Play. This takes us to the administration page, and we'll walk through the wizard. I'll hit next. Okay, I'll hit next again. And now I have to put in my actual service provider, which I'm going to put in my publisher on CUCM, CUCM pub.com, if I can spell my name right. This will be the user that I just created. We'll hit next. And I want these ones to be my call control service providers. That's sub A and sub B. And now we're done with that setup wizard. But we're not done with MediaSense. So let's log back in. And we'll go under administration. And we want to go to MediaSense API user configuration. What we want to do here is add one of our users. And I'll just add user 1. This will allow us to later on log into MediaSense and actually look at recordings and play them back if we want to. So I'll save that, and then at this point we need to transition back to CUCM. Now we want to go under device settings, and we're looking for recording profile. There shouldn't be one on here. We'll hit add new, and I'm going to do this as MS for MediaSense recording profile, and I'll give it the internal CSS, because later on when I make a route pattern, which the route pattern will be 7878, I'll put it into the internal partition, which you don't need to do this, but from my experience, most people in their production environments do put the route pattern into a partition, and therefore the recording profile needs to have a recording calling search space. Now this recording destination address needs to match whatever the route pattern is when we configure the route pattern later. So we'll see that pretty soon. But before we can make the route pattern, we first need the route pattern to have a device that it can point to. With that said, we'll go ahead and configure the SIP trunk. I'm going to add new. And this will be the SIP trunk that points at our recording server. So I'll just call this recording _ SIP _ trunk. I'll give it the San Jose device pool, San Jose location as well. Then we'll run on all active CM nodes. And when we scroll down to the bottom, I'm going to put my record.pcanane.com in here. I'll leave that destination port the same, non-secure SIP trunk, and the standard SIP profile. And now that this SIP trunk is created, I have to reset it. Otherwise, we won't be able to use it. And we'll go over to call routing, route/hunt, route pattern. And then I believe we did 7878 as the recording destination. Yep, 7878. So we have to match that on our route pattern. 7878, and I will put that into the internal partition. I'll point that at my recording SIP trunk, and we'll go ahead and save this now. The next step is going to be to set up the phone for call recording. However, before I actually start configuring the phone, I want to show you a report that we can run to see which phones support call recording. And what you want to look for is the Unified CM phone feature list. Generate a new report, and once that loads up, you can either just leave it at default and hit submit, or you can choose certain phone models to see what features, like all features that phone supports. Or you can do what I'm about to do, and you can select the specific feature that you're interested in. And I'm going to select record, and then I'll hit submit. And this lets us know which phones support call recording. And I do have some of these in my lab already, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and jump back over to the Unified CM administration page. We'll go to device, phone. And to configure the device, I will go with the device which is directory number 1000. That's one of my 8851s. Let's see, where are you? Right here. There's not really much you need to do on the phone. You have to set the privacy to off, and then the built-in bridge will be set to on. The built-in bridge is a DSP conference resource that's actually on the phone. It's built into the phone. And what that allows the phone to do is act as a conference resource. So usually you just have a point-to-point phone call, one person calling another person. But with call recording or with silent monitoring, or some people call it barge, right? You are going to introduce another person on the call or another device onto the call. And the phone will act as the conference bridge. That's why it's called the built-in bridge. So the phone is being a conference bridge in and of itself. Now we have privacy to off, we have built-in bridge to on. We'll click save. And then once that is done, I'm not going to hit apply config and reset just yet, because after the next change, which will be on the directory number on the line itself, we'll have to do those things. And so there's an area on here where we can do the recording configurations for this line. So it's per line. I'm going to set it to be automatic call recording. If you do something like selective call recording, then what will happen is the user will be in charge of whether or not the call gets recorded. And I just don't feel like dealing with that. I'm going to set it to automatic. All calls, either placed or received, will be recorded. My recording profile will be the one that I created earlier. And we could leave it to gateway preferred. What would happen is the call manager would try to set up a gateway call recording, but once it would fail over to the phone-based call recording. Same thing if we were doing gateway-based call recording and we had this set to phone preferred, CUCM would try to do phone-based, it would fail, then it would fall over to gateway-based. But since we're doing call, built-in bridge, phone-based call recording, let's remove any other thing that isn't necessary and let CUCM just go directly to trying to set up a recorded call using the phone. I'll save that, apply config, okay, reset, and you can see that we have that device. This is why I didn't do it earlier. I will just do a restart on the line. We'll do device phone, and we'll wait for that to register back. While I do so, I usually don't like looking at stuff that I'm not interested in, so I'll just do that. At this point, the device is registered back. We are ready to place a test call. And what I'll be doing is I'll be calling from my 1000 to the directory number 10,5000. All right, so that call is now connected. And what I'll end up doing is just letting it sit for about 30 seconds or so, and then I'll end the call. That 30 seconds is now up. I've ended the call. let's hop over to MediaSense now, and we're going to go into Cisco MediaSense Search and Play. And once that loads up, we're going to log in with user 1 because that's the user that we set up earlier. And let's hope the login is successful. I think we're going to be all right. Okay. So it looks like we had an error here. And I'll have to go ahead and take a quick look at that. So I'll pull the call manager traces and we'll take a look into it. I've now pulled the call manager traces and I have them right here inside of round 1. The reason why I call it round 1 is because maybe we'll fix an issue and then we'll still have one after the fact. We'll have to pull more traces and I'll make a folder called round 2. Anyway, I'm going to put in DD equals quotation marks, and I'm not going to put anything in there. If it were a production environment, I probably would, but I should only have one call in here. But there should be multiple different dial digits due to the call recording. And we can see our call here where 1000 calls 10,5000, and then there's another call that's going to go to the built-in bridge, and then once that built-in bridge is brought in, it has this phone number, and it's always going to have that same phone number. Once that built-in bridge is engaged, it's going to call the recording server at 7878. The built-in bridge is going to be engaged for the other leg of the call as well. So we have two legs. One leg of the call is for directory number 1000, and the other leg of the call is for 10,5000. So we have two call legs there. Both call legs need to be recorded, and so we're going to engage the built-in bridge for the other leg of the call. That built-in bridge is then going to make another call to 7878. So let's hop in here and we will get our first CI. Where is it? Right here. This is going to be the first CI in terms of the call that is going to the recording server. So I'll go ahead and highlight this right here. And then if I search on that, I should be able to find the SIP signaling that was sent over to the recording server. One way that you can tell that this is going to the recording server is 1, the IP address, and 2, inside when you see things like X ref CI, and like X near end, X far end, that's indicative of signaling that's going to a recording solution. I'm going to mark this, and then we'll search on that. And we have the invite out to the recording server, 180 ringing coming back in, 200 OK coming back in. You can see that it is coming from the MediaSense server. And we have the different types of codecs and whatnot that this recording solution supports. Also, just the fact that we have SDP here is good. Then CUCM sends an ACK back. One thing to notice is that there's no SDP here. Usually, when you send a delayed offer invite, and then you get back a 200 OK or any other message with SDP, CUCM should reply to that with SDP as well. If it didn't, there's likely a media negotiation issue. And if we take a look here at the BiB, which is the same SIP call ID, you'll see that it failed with cause value 47, also indicative of a media negotiation issue. So now we'll go back through this. You see cause code 47 here. And that looks like CDCC is sending it to built-in bridge. So let's see who sent it to CDCC. It looks like it was matrix control. Let me highlight that 47. And matrix control was told about it from connection manager. Media coordinator told them about it. All right, it looks like they were trying to allocate an MTP for whatever reason. It was a transcoder, and the transcoder was not able to be allocated, so everything is really pointing towards a media negotiation failure. And what that means is that we need to now identify what it was that caused this to fail. Now, when a phone call is set up that is going to be recorded, let's say that they agree upon G722 or even G711, whatever codec it is that they agree upon, the built-in bridge, the bridge on the phone, is locked to that codec. And so if the recording server doesn't support what the two parties agreed upon, then the call will try to allocate a transcoder for the recording solution side of things. And if that transcoder is either one, you don't have any transcoders, which I don't in the lab just yet, or if the transcoder doesn't support the codecs between the two call parties and the recording server, well then the transcoder will fail to allocate and the call will then fail. So what I need to do now is take a look for the original call and see what codec they agreed upon. We'll scroll down and find that first CI of the call. Actually, let me remove all style tokens. So now we're going back to the original call between party A and party B. We're not even caring about the recording solution anymore. So I'm going to go back to talking about call leg 1 and call leg 2. And when I'm talking about call leg 1 and call leg 2, I am talking about the call legs between party A and party B. Directory number 1000 and directory number 5000. So here we have style token. We're going to make it the first style token. I'll turn off word wrap. We'll do this. Make that the second style token. And let's take a look for the SIP signaling here. So an invite goes out to call 5000. CUCM replies back with 100 trying while it's trying to contact the directory number 5000. At this point, we know 5000 has been contacted because it sent back a 180 ringing. Now we have a 200 OK from the far end. And we have 114 and we have 101. So it looks like that phone is only offering the Opus codec over there in Site B. So let's see what happens here. Where is the ACK? Oh, it was an early offer. Okay, so we need to actually look at the call leg 2 to really see what we want to see. To see the media negotiation between between 5000 and CUCM. So you can see CUCM sends a delayed offer invite over to Site B CUCM. And so call manager receives an invite from party A and keeps its SDP, keeps all of its codecs and everything else. And then it engages the phone on Site B, but doesn't send the early offer invite because I don't have the trunk configured to do early offer. So what we need to do now is do Control-Shift-F and do find all. And we get back a 100 trying from site B, 180 ringing from site B, and a 200 OK. I was actually kind of confused. When the phone only supported Opus, it kind of confused me. So you can see we have all these different codecs here. But the codec that was agreed upon is the Opus codec. Now, I don't believe I saw that in the 200 OK that we got back from the recording server. They support G711U, G711A, and G722, as well as G729. So what we can do here is go back over to CUCM and go under System, Enterprise Parameters, click Find. I must have went to the wrong place. And now I want to do recording. Sorry, it's actually under service parameters, I guess. And then once we get into service parameters, all of this was not part of what I planned. So if there's a little bit of some hiccups here, I apologize, but I'm really going off the cuff right now. So recording, let's see. Is that all of them? Okay, this is what I was looking for here. So G711 is fine. G722 is fine because the recording server supports that. But then once we start getting into ILBC and ISAC and Opus, I think we're going to want to set all of these to enabled for all devices except for recording enabled devices. So G722 is fine, and I think now I'm good to save that. And I don't think I need to reset anything. So I'll go ahead and place that test call again. And I'll pause the recording while I let the time go by. I'll pause it right now. Okay, that's done now. Let's hop back over to MediaSense and see. All right, we have a call here. And the call went fine. We can see it went for 30 seconds, just like I said. Agreed upon G722. We have the extensions that we wanted to see. We have the different buttons that we'd want to see to be able to play it back or download it. So all is well here. I did collect the traces for this as well so that I can do an analysis of a working recording call, and I'll put that into my call manager trace reading playlist that I have, and I'll put a reference to that up top of the screen right now. But that does it for this video. I hope there was something of value for you in here, and I'll see you in the next one.